Welcome to the Taped Podcast, the most sober podcast in the world, which isn't inherently true, by the way. We are your hosts, myself, Michael.
Michal.
And I'm Josh.
Josh is our special guest here today. He is, we could say, a bit of a Tool fanboy.
He is our
No,
resident
that's correct.
Tool fan.
I am a Tool fanboy.
Josh, why do you like Tool?
Bass go boom.
So
I became smarter after listening to them, just saying.
yeah, I now understand nature and the world around me.
I now understand math. I can do math now.
So yeah, we decided to get Josh on board for the Tool episode. He's our resident Tool fanboy, and
Yes.
he'll give us an expert opinion on our power rankings.
Yes,
And
they're
that's what we're
all
doing
gonna be
today.
wrong, except
Make-
mine.
Take my opinion from someone who's only listened to every single Tool album yesterday, so...
I've listened to them all like 7 or 8 times.
Josh actually came out of the womb while Lateralis was on.
Yeah, I came out
All
during
right.
like the drop.
He was like,
Yes.
Is that the Fibonacci sequence?
Is that the golden ratio? Spiral down, my dude.
Wow.
He's been a mathematician since he was born then.
So what we're doing today is we're gonna just count down the 5 Tool studio albums from least favorite to favorite. Starting from least favorite, we're gonna go over why we put said album in whatever position we put it in, and we're gonna go over our least favorite and favorite tracks from every album.
Alright.
Sounds like a plan.
So,
It is.
So going around the least best Tool album,
That's correct.
my opinion, it is Fear Inoculum.
In my opinion, it is also Fear Inoculum.
My number 5 is also Fear Inoculum.
Oh, agreement.
Mick, do you want to start?
13 years.
You waited 13 years for this.
13
Ah.
damn years.
Well, I suppose I'll just start. Right, it's the longest Tool album. It's over an hour. It's an hour and a half, just about. And I think it's just safe to say it's a bit of a slog to get through at some points. Like, there's 6 songs on it. There's 4 interludes, and the songs are probably some of the longest in their catalog. And some of them, they're just not that interesting to listen to, and you just get boring after a while.
Agreed.
And the 4 interludes that are there, they're not as interesting or as engaging as any of the other Tool interludes that are spread out through their other albums. It's just not that interesting to like digest or listen to. And is it kind of fair to say that Maynard doesn't really sound the same?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
maybe it's just
100% agree.
the 13 years of drinking wine.
Yeah. He's not as angry anymore. He doesn't have that anger. He just sounds like he just sounds happy singing it compared to whenever he was cracked out on stage singing all the older old songs. He just seems content now. Which is not what I want from Tool.
It's like his vocals became more kind of smooth rather than angry.
Yeah.
No?
There's not
Kinda
that
like
growl.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the transition between fucking James Hetfield's vocals throughout the years in a way.
Yeah, except
You
that
know?
was good.
Exactly. Instrumentation on this album, it's all right. Like, you get what you expect from Tool. There's some cool sounding, like, there's interesting sounds in it, but it's not at all that engaging, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just feels like a bit of a forced album for me.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like what they wanted to put out, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's just tracks that are like, I guess, atmospheric, like any Tool song should be, and interesting when it comes to the music theory behind it. But it's just they play on for too long and they're a bit long-winded and uneventful.
Yeah, it's like a Tool cover band decided to get really good at playing Tool songs and made a Tool album.
It feels kind of like it doesn't have their pulse in it.
Yeah.
You want to join my Tool cover band?
No.
Aw.
Just kidding.
And yeah, and the track length,
Yeah.
it's an hour and a half, but it certainly feels even longer than that. Like, a lot of the tracks just aren't all that interesting.
It feels, some of them feel like they go on just too long with just not much going on, or just
Yeah.
the same kind of pattern repeating itself. Like that's Tool. Like they have long songs,
Yeah,
but there's so many different things in a Tool song.
yeah, that is.
It's
It stays fresh no matter how long, but there are some
Yeah.
songs that just seem to drag.
Yeah, like
Fair observation.
I agree with that observation.
Do you want to give our best and worst tracks?
Alright, best tracks off of Fear Inoculum for me are Culling Voices, title track in Tempest, the worst, and my least favorite Tool song of all time, Invincible.
My favorites were Numa and Tempest. My least favorites were Fear Inoculum and Mockingbeat.
My favorites were Tempest, Descending, and the worst were most of the interludes like Chocolate Chip Trip, Mockingbird.
Yeah, that was weird. It's just
So yeah, it's Invincible. I thought that was a very okay song.
yeah, it's okay for me too. Nothing special.
I don't know, I don't like it at all. I just think it's a fucking slog to listen to.
It's not the worst Tool song though.
I think it is, but this is coming from someone who only listened to them yesterday, so yeah.
I respect your opinion, but you're wrong.
You gotta respect the hustle. This time yesterday, he didn't know what Tool was. He thought it was just we were talking about a wrench.
No, I knew what Tool was, obviously, and I listened to Undertow before this, but I only got to listen to the rest of their albums yesterday in the span of like 7 hours.
Yeah, that's dedication. Leave a like, everyone. Subscribe.
Leave a like for my suffering, please.
Can we get a 5-star rating? And
Mick listened to all the Tool albums back to back in one day, and now he's very depressed.
How's it
I
feel?
wouldn't say depressed.
The world is
Feels
just
great,
darker.
doesn't it?
I wouldn't say depressed. I don't know. Moving on to our next pick.
Yeah.
Fuck this. Moving on to our number 4 pick, I chose Undertow.
I chose 10,000 Days.
I chose Undertow.
You can explain
Tool's
yours
debut.
first, since you have the same one.
fair. Alright, it's Tool's debut. It's definitely the heaviest Tool album, I would say.
Yeah.
For me, at least, it starts off kind of rough. I'm not really a fan of the first 2 tracks, but then afterwards, it sounds amazing the rest of the way through. Fucking love the instrumentation. The guitars are absolutely fucking fantastic. The bass is really present, and the drums slap. And of course, Maynard's vocals, being angry and as aggressive as they are so good. They match the instrumentation very well, and it just sounds raw as hell.
I agree with everything you said. Little fun fact about that album: it actually wasn't Justin that played the bass in that album. It was a bassist called Paul D'Amour. He was the first bassist of Tool, and he actually played on that album. And again, it doesn't. I don't really mind about the different basses because I think that the bass is insane in this song. Like Sober is probably one of their they're one of their biggest songs, and I think it's a really good album, but it's their debut. They're still finding themselves and what they really wanted to make.
The last track on that album is a literal mindfuck, not gonna lie.
It's a long one. It's 15 minutes.
It is a long one. 7 minutes of crickets.
That's not enough crickets, in my opinion. I think they should have done it a bit more crazy.
Just do a Swans. Just make like fucking 30 minutes of crickets.
Yeah, 13 minutes of crickets and call it an interlude.
The last song is just like 5 minutes of crickets.
That would be fun, not gonna lie.
Very fun.
Yeah, so I chose 10,000 Days. I still think this is a really good album. I'll say that. There are some fantastic tracks. But for me, there are some, stretches of this album where, while the music is still very much Tool, very much, mind-bending and very atmospheric, it just, when I compare it to some of the albums I ranked higher, it's a bit more long-winded and not as interesting in my opinion. Well, there's some brilliant moments. Obviously, it's a Tool album. I just can't really imagine, listening to this one. If I had to listen to a Tool album, I can't really imagine it being this one over any of the 3 I ranked higher.
Interesting take.
It's still good though. I will say that it's still a very good album.
Agreed.
I very much agree as well.
Do you?
All right, best and worst tracks from each of our picks. Best tracks for me on Undertow are Crawl Away, Bottom is Sober. The least best is Intolerance.
From Undertow for me, the best is Sober, Undertow, and Prison Sex. And my least favorite is Disgustipated. That is not something I listen to on a daily basis, but it's good for a mindfuck.
Yeah, my favorite tracks on 10,000 Days are Jambi, The Pot, Rosetta Stone, Right in 2, and my least favorite track is Wings for Marie.
I kind of disagree with that one.
I very much disagree with that one. Are you talking about part 1 or part 2?
Part 1.
Okay, that's a no-no.
No. Michal, you have a great opinion, but you're wrong.
Your opinion is respectable, and it is great, but you're fucking wrong.
Yeah, I'll take it into consideration when I'm thinking, but I'll completely disagree.
That's the internet in a nutshell.
Any discussion on Twitter.
Yeah. I respect you as a human, and, I respect your opinion, but you should just die.
This is where I post the K-pop fan video after your reply.
Oh yeah, just
listen to BTS Jungkook, Jimin, BTS.
Just some racist commentary. And
no one cares about your opinion. Stan Luna.
Stan Luna.
Then you have that one guy with the picture. He's like, "I do K-pop video bad."
Yeah, it's just the fucking guy wearing a MAGA hat. Get those Asians off the air.
He's a MAGA hat. All right.
Yeah, we're talking
moving
about
on to. Let's not get political. Let's talk about 2. All right, number 3 pick. I chose 10,000 Days.
I chose Anima.
I chose Anima as well.
All right, 10,000 Days. I think it's a great album. I enjoy it quite a bit. Get what you expect from Tool. The pretty long progressive tracks with some great instrumentation and some really interesting time signatures and all that sort of shit. But this one for me at least, I think it's great, but I don't think it's Tool's top tier album for me at least. Maynard's vocals feel a lot more prevalent than the previous 2 albums they released before this. There's less interludes on this one, which on some level is kind of disappointing, but at the same time, I feel like it's for the better, because the interludes on 10,000 Days aren't really as interesting as the ones on, say, the previous efforts. But all in all, it's a good album. I still really enjoy a lot of songs on here, and it's a long one, but it's still great, in my opinion, at least.
We'll kind of talk about this together since we both picked Anima. Do you want to start off, Josh?
I think it's my number 3, but I think it's still it's a very good piece of work.
I agree.
Every song is very good. The only thing I really don't like are interludes. That's because I'm impatient. But 46 and 2, Enema, the title track, Stinkfist, the Eulogy, all the instrumentation, the bass, the drums, the vocals, the guitars, everything this goes for nearly every single 2 album after this are just works of art in their own sense. The way that they're played is just nuts.
Yeah, this is the point in my rankings where it's hard to really complain about any of these albums. And this ranking really just comes down to the fact that I just don't think it's as good as the ones I ranked above it. It doesn't really compare for me. And I like how the albums I ranked above it, for me, they just have more immediacy. They're more in your face, more, wild and just out there. And I think this one is more of a slow burner. And I think that's a good thing. But also, I just wouldn't rank it above some of the ones I put above it. Even though it's a brilliant album, it's got, fantastic instrumentation as you would expect from Tool.
Yeah.
They really definitely got a bit more atmospheric, a bit more creative when it came to their overall vision after Undertow. And it's a fantastic album, and I feel like it is a bit of a turning point in a band's discography.
like from here on up for my ratings, it just gets kind of blurry
Yeah.
because like this is the band that inspired me to play the bass. So I just love everything that they do. All the bass lines and stuff are just stuck in my head, and I can't just say they're bad because I'm a fanboy, and I can't really complain about them. But it's kind of they're all like from here on up, they're all kind of like the same for me. This is what I prefer. The songs I prefer. It's really up there.
Yeah, this is definitely where the rankings got harder for me.
All right.
Yeah, best and worst tracks.
All right. My favorite tracks from 10,000 Days were Vicarious, Wings for Marie, and The Pot. The worst is Lost Keys.
My favorite tracks off Enema were Stinkfist, 46 and 2, Push It, and the title track, Enema. If I had to pick a least favorite, it would probably be DR von Satan. But that's more of an interlude, if anything.
My favorite tracks off Enema, 46 and 2, the title track, Stinkfist, Eulogy, Hooker with a Penis, and the worst is, again, all the interludes, says I'm just very impatient.
I completely forgot to write down Hooker.
I dare you.
How could you do this?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's an amazing track. That's on my list as well.
But my least favorite is probably, same with you, Die von Satan.
Kind of ruined the flow of the album for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's the fucking fly at the end.
It's just maybe uncomfortable listening to it, like with earphones.
Yeah, no,
I was looking around.
The speakers as well. It made me like when there's a fly beside you, you can't just sit still. And I got that same feeling when I was just.
And
like,
to be fair, that's probably what they're going for.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying to fuck with us.
All right. Yeah, I was just saying, like, Tool kind of have a history of adding a bit of a fucking odd track as a closer.
Yeah, same back with Undertow, Disgustipated.
That's a fact, to be fair, but Disgustipated is probably like my favorite like ending Tool track.
It's good, but
yeah,
it's too many crickets.
Too many crickets.
Not gonna lie, I'd listen through the crickets every time. Not gonna lie though.
I mean, it depends what mood I'm in.
If I'm in the cricket mood, I'll definitely just listen to crickets.
Sure. If I'm in a cricket mood, dude, I'm playing that on repeat.
I'm just.
Insert cricket sound effects.
Do you want to reveal our number 2 picks?
Top 2. My second favorite Tool album is Enema.
My second favorite Tool album is Undertow.
My second favorite Tool album is 10,000 Days.
You
got a pretty diverse ranking here, not gonna lie.
It surprised me, actually.
As diverse as you can get with a band with 5 albums.
Hey, they have an EP too.
Yeah, but we're not counting that.
EPs don't matter.
Who wants to start?
Enema is... Alright, I'll go first. Right, Enema is one of Tool's best albums, in my opinion. That all really comes down to being one of the most obscure metal albums that I've ever heard. Because overall, there's just some sounds in that whole album that just sound so fucking weird and like out of place for whatever could be on a metal album, and it just sounds amazing to me. It kept me reeled in, it intrigued me for the whole way through. Instrumentation is absolutely fantastic throughout the whole album. I think that the drums feel a lot more present on this one than they do on Undertow. And of course, Maynard, fantastic vocalist. Some of his best vocals are on here, in my opinion. There's different kind of mixes and like effects on Maynard's vocals, but I feel like that kind of matches the atmosphere of what the songs are trying to go for in this one. And the skits are absolutely unique as hell. There's so many great songs on here. The interludes, they're fantastic. I would say they're some of the best in Tool's catalogue. And, overall, Enema is top tier in my opinion.
That is a good take.
Thank you.
I very much agree with you. I guess my number 2 is 10,000 Days. It's because it's a sick album.
That's
just,
all you have to say.
Honestly, I could just say that and say no more. But the instrumentation is nuts. Like one of my personal favorite Tool songs of all time, Writing 2, is on this album. Like the bass, the way they use the harmonies and harmonics is just fucks with my head every single time. I just have nothing bad to say about this album. I think the Wings Part 1 and Part 2 are amazing as a tribute to his mother. I think they're both fantastic. The guitars on Jambi, again, fucking nuts. Nearly every single song on this album for me is perfect. The only thing I don't like is about most two songs, the interludes, because I'm an impatient fuck. That's just my take on them. But yeah, I love basically everything in this album.
I feel like Undertow is a bit of an unpopular opinion for a second, but I really think it's very underrated. I think it's definitely a lot more, straightforward and raw, as you said, than some of the more fine-tuned, more, experimental albums that followed. But I just love how intense and powerful this album is. And, tracks like Prison Sex and Sober are among Tool's best tracks, like, despite, their popularity, especially mainstream popularity with Sober. That song was pretty big. But that's not to say it's not as experimental as some of the albums that followed. Like, tracks like Intolerance are very intriguing to me. It feels like a more raw, more abrasive album than what Tool would release afterwards, which I love what Tool released afterwards, but it's a nice fresh sound that you can't really get from any other Tool album for me. And yeah, I love this album to death.
Good take.
Great take.
Hell yeah.
Alright, best tracks for me off of Anima or Eulogy, Stinkfish, Third Eye, Hooker with a Penis, and worst, Push It.
I love that name so much.
I fucking love Push
I know,
It.
same. I know, I apologize, but it's still a good song.
Josh?
It's still a good song, don't get me wrong.
Do you have to use worst tracks?
You could just say
Push
least
It.
best.
Whoops. The best tracks for 10,000 Days for me, Writing 2, Rosetta Stoned, Wings Part 1 and 2, The Pot, Jambi, Vicarious, basically everything. Good fucking album. The worst is, again, the interludes, the Vigilante, Tress, Lipin, Couraging, because I'm extremely impatient. I think I've got that through.
I guess I tried to narrow it down a bit. So my favorite tracks are Intolerance, Sober, and Prison Sex. Worst tracks, out of the proper tracks, I'd say Bottom. But I think Discuss Debated goes on for a bit too long.
15 minutes.
7 minutes crickets.
None of crickets.
I think we all know what this means.
Yeah.
Do we want to?
This is inevitable.
Yeah.
Lateralis.
Yep.
Yes, the best Tool album. Because yes.
Because we said so.
Because we said so. Because I said so.
Our opinion is all correct, and you are all wrong if you don't think so.
Thank
Exactly.
God, Mick. Our opinions align with the Tool expert. It means we're worthy.
Yeah,
we are worthy.
If you didn't pick Lateralis, I have no clue what I would have done. Honestly,
My favorite.
You probably would have just stormed off the
podcast.
podcast.
honestly, probably.
Zoomer album. All the Zoomers out there picking Fear Inoculum.
Well,
Oh, this band's edgy. Whoa.
whoa, they have heavy
know-
guitar.
Whoa, they draw out their tracks like Pink Floyd.
Dude, did you guys
Whoa.
see that when Fear Inoculum was released, it went number one in the music charts and knocked Taylor Swift down, and all the Taylor Swift fans on Twitter were so fucking confused.
I saw that. It was
They were
funny.
posting what the fuck is this band called Tool who hasn't released
What
an
is a
album
Tool?
in 13 years doing
Only
at number
boomers
one.
like Tool.
Taylor Swift, they stole number one from Taylor Swift. What the
Only
fuck?
Taylor Swift can play the guitar.
Their songs are like 15 minutes. What the fuck is this? Is this a joke?
What is a bass?
Why are they using inspiration from Taylor Swift to play the guitar?
What is an instrument?
Why is he screaming?
Why is he
he?
sound not like a girl?
Why is Tempest spelled with a 7?
Why does he have a winery?
Okay, enough about Twitter reactions to Fear Inoculum. Lateralis. It's by far my favorite Tool album. I think this album is, to say the least, perfect, in my opinion.
I seconded.
How we're waiting for your
um,
confirmation.
close to it.
Oh, so he's
I'll
wrong.
take that. I'll take that.
It is
All
one of
right.
my favorite albums of all time.
Better be.
This album has some of my favorite Tool instrumentals on it. They sound absolutely amazing. They sound so well into the mix. They're performed extremely well. They just the instruments themselves just blend so well with each other, and they make some of the best Tool songs. Like it's unique as hell. When I heard transition into Parabola, I lost my shit
Uh
because of how fucking smooth it was. I
huh.
absolutely loved it.
It's so good.
I know. The songs on here are just some songs in here are literally just pure bliss. The atmosphere is amazing. I could see why Tool fans would want to get stoned to this every day, but it sounds
You
fantastic.
don't even have to get stoned. Just get you high as fuck already.
I
Helps
get
though.
contact high from the bass.
The sound.
Yeah, I put the speakers up full and I put my ears to the fucking speakers and the bass makes me high. I think it's just
issues.
honestly, I think it's the vibrations making me dizzy, but I don't care.
I think that's schizophrenia,
Like-
Miho.
And everywhere
He's
I
on
look,
the Sid Barrett wave.
everywhere I look, I see
Alright.
eyes.
Like the instrumental build-ups on this sound amazing and well crafted, and I love how it feels like there's so much care and like detail brought into the music on here, and it sounds amazing. And Maynard's vocals are fantastic. Again, like in Nima, they're probably some of my favorite performances from him are on here. Overall, best album.
Yeah,
I wholly agree.
for me there was really no competition. I kind of had to work around the other picks, but this one was always a staple at the number one spot. It first like every Tool album other than Undertow maybe for me has like the same kind of atmosphere and energy, but I think this album is where they just like perfected that mind-bending, hypnotic, meticulous, very heavy and grimy like sound that they create. And it's even to this day it's still I think the crowning achievement for them. And that sound, it's just from start to finish completely cohesive. Every track just flows into the next perfectly. It's got some absolute classic Tool songs. It's just, I think, unarguably their best album.
I think it's a perfect album. Yeah. No,
That speaks volumes.
like, Schism was the song that got me to actually learn how to play the bass after I was sitting in the corner of my room for a year.
I want to pick up a bass now. Not gonna lie.
That's what these things do. You listen to them and you're like, I want to do that. Like the rhythmic complexities of each song, how they're different, the different pedals used, the effects and the bass. I'm just gonna want about the bass. Other instruments. Danny on the drums.
Yeah.
It is nuts, absolutely mind blowing, especially in Lateralis. And Adam with the guitar. I don't how. Maynard is again just his vocals on this. I don't really have a problem with his vocals on any of the. I think they're really really great in each album. But it's the pinnacle in Lateralis. I think this is the pinnacle Tool album. It's the perfect album for someone who wants to listen to Tool for the first time and really get what they want to hear. And this is the thing that got me hooked on Tool and the bass.
Yeah, definitely shout out to the drums. Like, as a drummer, I've heard some fantastic drum albums, In the Court of the Crimson King, stuff like that, but, like, rarely do I just listen to an album and just get taken aback and just, like, have to do a double take on what I just heard when it comes to the drums. But anytime I listen to Lateralis, I have to do that, like, every 5 minutes. I'm just like, what the fuck was that? Holy shit.
I know, right? It's,
Yeah.
like,
It's
the
brilliant.
technicality, this time signature changes, it's nuts. It's crazy how I think Danny right now is probably one of the best drummers in the world, just for his pure like in technique, complexity, and use of his drums.
Yeah,
From
dude,
he's just nuts.
legend. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a
Well,
fantastic
surprise!
album.
Everyone picked Lateralis.
It is the pinnacle
All right,
tool. I think that's a good way to
it
put
is
it.
peak tool.
So,
All right. Best tracks off of Lateralis for me were Reflection, Parable, Parabola, Grudge, title track, Schism. If I had to pick my least favorite, Ticks and Leeches probably.
Whoa.
Okay. Oh, I mean, you said your least favorite,
like I
so I
said,
respect it.
like I said,
Yeah.
like I said, least favorite, and like I said earlier, perfect album.
Fair. Josh, do you want to go next?
Sure. I love all the songs. I don't like the interludes.
Fair.
It's kind of that with me the whole time, but that's what it is. The Grudge, The Patient, Schism, Parabola, Ticks and Leasage, Disposition, Reflection, and of course the title track, Lateralis. It's the perfect album.
My favorites are Schism, Parabola, Lateralis, Triad, The Patient, and Ticks and Leeches. If I had to pick a least favorite, I'd pick Disposition.
Okay.
I love how we all had the same pick for our least favorite and like best.
Yeah, like the either end of the spectrum was the same, but then in between we had diversity.
We all had something different.
Yeah, but
Right.
I mean, of course, I knew those were gonna be two. Like, yous would pick Fear Nocturne for your last one and Lateralis for the first one, because
Yeah,
It's a
makes
given.
sense.
I mean,
It's a given.
I was a bit more sure in the Lateralis being number one pick than the Fear Inoculum being last, to be honest.
I was very fine with Fear Inoculum being my last pick, 'cause that's 13 years,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
you can't really please 13 years of hype.
yeah, no matter how good, and
Yeah,
the
So I
album just
remember-
isn't as good as. Yeah, I remember you were talking about it every single day. You were giving me daily Tool updates, and I was like, God, this poor guy. If this album is bad, Josh is going to end his life.
and
Every day for like 2 years, he'd give me a Tool update.
yeah, they're finally recording. Okay,
Yeah,
so
he'd-
they recorded
he'd, like-
everything. They're mastering.
He'd fucking call me at on Discord like at 5 a.m. and he'd be like, "Dude, they're mastering the bass. They're mastering the bass."
I can respect the hustle
Yeah, or
that
like-
you want to go out of your way to find out all these things.
Or like I'd wake up in the morning and like it's just, oh, they titled one of the tracks. Yeah, they titled one of the tracks. I don't know what the title.
Yeah.
They haven't revealed it, but they've done it.
They've actually
Well-
for a while they played Invincible and Descending live at their shows, because they did that with 10,000 Days. They played some of those songs live, and people had no fucking clue what they were playing.
And I still remember like one of the first ones you sent me, like one of the first updates of the new albums was you just sent me a picture of like I think it was Danny just playing drums, and you were like, "They're in the studio."
They were.
Beginning, it's starting.
And then 2
Okay, I
years
think-
later, they decided we'll release it.
Okay, I think we should end it there.
Um,
All right, thanks for checking out today's episode of the Taped Podcast.
Thanks for having me
What
on.
did you think about?
Hell yeah.
You're welcome to come back whenever.
Yeah.
That it's
was a pleasure.
isolation, man. I'm always free. What else is let
Yeah.
you sleep? No, I love this. Thank you so much for having me on.
For sure, dude.
You want to be a full-time member?
An offer?
I don't mind.
We will discuss.
We'll discuss this in private. You may see Josh again. In the meantime, Josh, do you want to shout out your music Instagram or anything?
Sure. I'm in a band called the Rolling Shades. We're not up to much because we don't want to get coronavirus. But we have a song called Now or Never. It's a good song, I swear. I'll tell Michal to link it in the description.
Yep, we'll do.
I
and-
listened to it. It's actually a pretty good song, not gonna
Hey,
lie.
thank you.
Hell
he's
yeah,
lying.
boy.
You're welcome.
Um,
I'm not lying, I swear.
thank you. So yeah, hopefully just keep an eye out for us. Maybe we'll become rich and famous, and I can buy cool things. And
That's
maybe
all
we'll
he
You can
meet
buy
up
me a
for-
bass.
I'll buy
he
you
wants
You
three
can buy me a
bases.
bass. Yeah! Alright, thanks for checking out today's episode of the Taped Podcast. Like we said, the Joshua's song will be in the description. Our own channels will be in the description. Our Rate Your Music and Album of the Year pages will be in the description too. And yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.